Trust me when I tell you I am nothing special. I am just a regular guy. I live in a small town in Iowa called Marshalltown. My father and I run a paint and carpet store there. My father opened the business in 1973, so he's been there 43 years. My mother and father have been very faithful to the business. In fact, my mother still comes in every night and cleans the entire place. And that's the business that allows me to do my real work, which is right here. When we started the work in the Central African Republic, I had no experience. It was my first time to Africa. We came to see if there truly was an orphan crisis in the country. It was clear on the first day that there was an overwhelming need. A missionary brought us up to this beautiful house and said, "Hey, would you please put your orphanage here?" And I have never before felt so clearly what God wanted me to do. And I felt like he was saying, look, we both know you're not qualified for this work, but I am. I've done the hard part. You just have to say yes. So we said yes. The Central African Republic has been a poor place and a very difficult place to be an orphan for generations, but the war brought the level of desperation to an entirely new level. The war took a very poor country that was very fragile and decimated any of the social or political structures that existed. We have a significant number of children who have suffered terribly because of the war. But we have children here that have seen their parents killed. We have children here who have seen their homes burned, seen rebels attack. Children, families fled to the forest. And many of them lived in the forest for quite a while rebels inhabited their towns. And these children are going to suffer from emotional trauma for years. Children here are desperate because their basic needs, food, shelter, security, are not being met. In the United States, there are a lot of safety nets. But here, there's no safety net. So they're forced to try and exist day to day by any means possible. The society here is simply exhausted, unable to accept the needs of the orphans. So the orphans are abandoned, ignored, and forgotten. So I've asked myself throughout this experience, who am I to have been born in a place where I have more than I need? I don't know. I was just born on a different continent. But does that make me any more deserving of basic needs than others? Absolutely not. And I think those of us who were born in a place where we have far more than we need have the opportunity and the responsibility to share with those who have less. And it's not just less. You know, these children that we're rescuing, it's not like they don't have much. They don't have anything. The children that we're rescuing now are clinging to life. For us to think that we're doing something brilliant by sharing when we have such excesses, that's nothing brilliant. That's just the right thing to do. Our mission is to rescue children in the most dangerous and desperate situations. A significant portion of these children would not be alive had we not had the opportunity to rescue them. Our first goal is to stabilize their health. Many of them come in severely malnourished, so naturally we have to deal with their physical needs first. Just today we handed out 900 doses of worms medicine. Emotional trauma counseling comes next. I think this entire culture is dealing with emotional trauma at this time. These children have endured some unspeakable situations, and they need to talk about it as they can and get things worked out. And that's a process that continues throughout their time here. We meet their educational needs. We've got a school which right now is educating about 300 children. Any orphan from the town can come for free, and that's exciting. Adoption is the most logical way for us to create a sustainable system so that we can continue to rescue the most vulnerable children. When a family adopts a child, they're rescuing a child from a very difficult circumstance, a very difficult country to live in. But they're also rescuing a child that they'll never meet, because as they adopt, they're making room at the orphanage for more children. Certainly not everyone is in a position to adopt, but one nice thing about the Central African Republic is money goes a long ways. $1 here in the lives of these orphans is worth far more than $1 in a pocket at home. A donation of about $36 pays for the education of a child for a year. Education's critical to get these children out of this cycle of poverty that they're in. The cost to sponsor an orphan is about $100 a month to completely care for a child, including food, clothes, education, everything. The really exciting thing about giving to the children here and the work that's being done here is all the money ends up here in Central Africa to help these children. The paid staff is all African, and believe me, they need jobs, and the benefit of that work is all for the orphans. There's a passage in the Bible that clearly states that we're instructed to care for orphans and widows. James 1:27, pure and genuine religion in the sight of God the Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress and refusing to let the world corrupt you. And when you actually know these children, when you know their faces, when you know their names, when you know their laugh and smile, it becomes pretty personal. So, following James 1:27, that's not a burden, that's an honor. I'm a very unlikely candidate for this. But right now, the needs are overwhelming and the workers are few. So we'll be back, again and again and again.